So I turn on Vassy, okay? Vassy, I like you. You're the only one I like. I would take you e-scootering, okay? That's how much I like you. But her panel, I'm watching. I got angry. He didn't watch it, but he doesn't think it's going to move the dial. Clinton Jaws, subscribe. It's the only thing I care about. I got some clips I'm going to show you guys. I'm thinking, what is wrong with Canadian news? Why won't they change? They've lost so much money. Some of them are about to go bankrupt, but they won't change. What they've been doing for years doesn't work. And I swear, if Poilievre, when he gets in, they're going to become extinct. Canadian news is going to become fossils. I watched the debate between Vance and Waltz, and it was honestly one of the most... I was watching it at my fireplace on my computer, and I'm like, wow, this guy is good. I said that out loud. I was excited to see how the news was going to report it. And then I watched the Canadian news. All the podcasters in America, yeah, all of them, they agreed. Vance killed.
I thought that J.D. Vance was spectacular. He just performed really well. I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say it's maybe the best debate performance I've seen in my lifetime. I can't think of a better one. There's nothing that comes to mind. Certainly it's the best in the past decade or more. Vance is so much better at this than Tim Walz. That was clear last night. He's so much better at it than Kamala Harris. And he's also much better at it than Donald Trump.
Even the Democrats in America said this.
Okay, so you know I'm always interested in those quote-unquote reliable sources, the third rail, the group of people who are supposed to tell us the truth and make sure that politicians aren't lying, the people who are supposed to hold them to account, who rarely do such a thing. But every now and again, a debate is so clear, much like the Trump-Biden debate a couple months back, it's so clear who won and who lost that they can't really lie about it, because it would just be like kicking you in the nuts. So here's a little compilation of some of the post-game coverage where they could not kick you directly in the nuts.
There is no doubt in my mind that Vance won this debate.
Does Governor Walz have a problem with the truth? No.
They were talking, at one point, Vance wanted to correct something about how Haitians got into this country. And he was right, and the moderators wouldn't let him correct it. It's very interesting.
But at the beginning, the two issues driving the campaign right now are Harris has a big deficit on the economy, Harris has a big deficit on immigration, and Republicans were happy tonight and Democrats a little bit nervous that on those two issues, Vance carried it.
J.D. Vance is much more experienced at this, at public speaking, at defending himself, at pivoting.
I think there was a clear lack of preparation and execution here on Walz's part.
I think actually it's the opposite. I think he had too much preparation.
Takeaway from this is that one of these candidates is much slicker than the other, is a much more practiced, kind of professional debate style speaker. And the other candidate won.
Okay, so you could very clearly see just in that quick compilation that the media really couldn't lie that much about it.
So now I'm looking for Canada. The next day I'm looking, what's CTV gonna say, right? The night, right before the debate, they said this.
I think normally a VP debate, there's not much at stake. I think the ticket of Trump and whoever else is all about Trump. I just don't know a secondary personality is going to be able to influence anything.
The debate's not going to make any difference. It's not going to make a difference at all in the polls. Not going to make a difference. What if somebody craps themselves while speaking?
I've spent time in Finland and seen some Finnish schools. They don't have this happen.
I know, low blow. But what about this? Wouldn't it make a difference if you look like a complete idiot?
May I respond to that?
Yes.
So appreciate that. So if you notice, what Governor Walz just did is he said, first of all, Donald Trump has to listen to the experts. And then when he acknowledged that the experts screwed up, he said, well, Donald Trump didn't do nearly as good of a job as the statistics
that's a gross generalization.
that he did. So what Tim Walz is doing, and I honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here, because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for American citizens. I was raised by a woman who would sometimes go into medical debt so that she could put food on the table in our household. I know what it's like to not be able to afford the things that you need to afford. We can do so much better. To all of you watching, we can get back to an America that's affordable again. We just got to get back to common sense economic principles.
I hope we have a conversation on health care then.
Senator, Governor.
Please.
Thank you, Mark.
So I turn on Vassy, okay? Vassy, I like you. You're the only one I like. I would take you e-scootering, okay? That's how much I like you. But her panel, I'm watching, I got angry. You guys are not going to acknowledge how unbelievable Vance did? They can't find themselves to say, Vance won, Walter lost. They can't say it. Instead, they say this. Front bench.
Just some of the moments from last night's U.S. vice presidential debate between Democrat, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Republican Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. It was a strange political event, substantive, respectful, even congenial at times, but will it make a difference?
Will it?
Let's bring back the front bench to talk about
will
that.
it move the
Mohammed Ali,
dial?
Jamie Ellerton, Carl Belanger,
You're not gonna
Enrico
believe it.
Walsh. Jamie, I'll start with you.
Jamie.
It was, Marika and I were on this text chain last night. We were all like, what are we even watching? I haven't even seen anything like this in easily over a decade. Do you think at the end of the day, that debate will have an impact, in particular among people who are undecided in those key swing states, ultimately who will determine the outcome of the election?
What do you think?
Yeah, for full disclosure, I did not watch the debate last night, but I read a ton about the coverage today, and I really don't think it's going to move the dial.
That's Canada. The dipstick didn't even watch it. He knows he's going to go on TV today, and he doesn't even watch it. The debate in Canada, it's on early in a lot of places. He didn't even watch it. They're not even trying. That is embarrassing. And you can tell Vassy's embarrassed. Like, what? Why is he on there? You useless tit. Watch how embarrassed Vassy is here. And listen to what he says again. Full disclosure, I did not watch it. Listen to what he says after. Well, look at Vassy. Look how embarrassed she is.
Yeah, for full disclosure, I did not watch the debate last night, but I read a ton about the coverage today, and I really don't think it's going to move the dial.
He didn't watch it, but he doesn't think it's going to move the dial. He read a lot today. What papers were you reading? We could only guess, right? He read a lot today. I'm just curious, man. You know, how much sense? Why is he filming himself? What is it? Is that a prison behind him? Like, dude, you have some class.
When you look at how the respective partisan camps were talking, what came out of the debate last night, and kind of the more neutral across the board.
Neutral
media
across the
coverage,
board.
It seems that everyone just kind of walked away with probably a higher favorability of the VP picks themselves, without anyone really scoring any points.
Even Steven.
Presidential candidate.
Mohammed, what's your sense of
Yeah.
that? Do you think
well,
do you think there was a winner or something that moved the dial
bring him
in
back
any
on.
way?
I think
Is there a
the
winner?
only real winner, if you want to say that, because VP debates don't really move the dial ever.
Doesn't ever.
I think everyone.
It was so good by Vance. Believe me, it moved the dial.
And I think everyone, it came out sort of neutral. I think
Came out sort of neutral. Oh my God. What? Nobody in the world is saying it came out neutral. We got two people that said it. And one guy that didn't even watch it. It's so comical. It's so comical to me to watch Canada. Vassy, what are you doing with these people?
terrible campaign for him, and everything that you could think of.
He's been
has come
terrible.
out.
He's
So
had
I
a
think
terrible
he needed to
campaign.
really polish that image, and I think he did a good job of it for the most part. The Tim Walz had to just be neutral. I think he stumbled a bit and could have done better, but I mean, no serious damage done. But I think the gain was for JD.
Let me play a little bit of.
He thinks Tim stumbled. So are they going to show Tim stumbling? No, I'm gonna show you something that's unbelievable, but they won't show it. Instead, they're going to show this. They're going to show this.
A lot of what Kamala Harris proposes to do, and some of it, I'll be honest with you, it even sounds pretty good.
And I'm going to thank Senator Vance. I think this is the conversation they want.
Anyways, they go back and forth thanking each other. It was nice. It was nice to see. That's the clip they show.
I think was refreshing. And of course, fewer people were watching, less popcorn
55 million people watched it.
Still, they think about 55 million.
How about on the internet?
It's not the same.
No.
It's not the same.
But I know that Republicans are looking at this. It's like, next time around, if Trump loses, are we going to get a mini Trump who's going to embark on the same road? Or are we going to go back to the serious GOP formula, that we were a serious governing party with clear conservatism values as opposed to this populist, nonsense.
Nonsense, Trump nonsense.
By Donald Trump.
What surprised me was how little Tim Walz made any hay of that. How he didn't point that out. He didn't call him on it. And
healthcare, like there was a lot of stuff he said that Donald Trump did that nobody like he didn't.
The economy,
Tim Walz didn't
it just
call
really surprised me that Tim Walz allowed JD Vance to
Economy
be
was
this
great
congenial
with
guy.
Trump.
That it's hard to see how Tim Walz moved the dial for his party.
Finally, somebody actually says it. It's hard to see that. Walz didn't move the dial, but they won't say that Vance moved the dial. Now listen to the big boy in the middle here. Walz didn't crash. He didn't crash and burn. Yeah, he did. They just won't show it.
Yeah, I'll play. Yeah, go ahead.
Crush, though. He didn't crash and burn, right?
He crashed and burned. Especially when he lied. But they won't show that.
But I also didn't hurt his party and mission accomplished. So I think that's the other thing. Like JD just didn't seem real. It seemed a little bit artificial, but also mini Trump-esque.
Not real. Trump-esque. Didn't seem real, guys. They can't admit the truth. And they want to fog you. How do you fog you? You don't tell the truth. You want to talk about misinformation, it's not telling the real information. It's not being truthful. And you wouldn't believe the clip that they're going to show. It goes against Vance. These are the clips.
This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
It's a damning non-answer for you to not talk about censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump and I think that there were problems in 2020. We've talked about it. I'm happy to talk about it further.
Carl, that is the big moment that the Democrats are pushing out today. But
what's the big moment, Vassie, that the conservatives are pushing out today? She doesn't play it. I'm going to.
Yeah, I thought that was by far Walz's strongest moment. Even his facial expressions in the answer, when you're watching it on mute with captions, it tells you what you want to hear if you're a Democrat. But again, if in the midterm,
what was his weakest moment? Not going to show you. What was Vance's strongest moment? Not going to show you. But we're going to show Walz's best moment, right? That's what they did. This guy crashed and he burned. You got to see this clip. Watch it again if you've already seen it. He lies. The guy's a liar. And he gets tripped up like a criminal getting interrogated by a cop. It's actually perfect. It's actually a perfect moment because it brought me back to when I used to interrogate people. I would ask them a question, they would answer it, and then I kept silent. I wouldn't say anything. When you keep silent, you don't say anything, there's a few seconds of silenceness. It makes the other person very uncomfortable, and they just start talking.
Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. Those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this is I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Thank you, Governor.
These people are supposed to know about politics. They're supposed to know more about politics than I do. But do they? Because the only person right here was me.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status.
Right.
temporary protected status.
Margaret,
Nora?
but
Thank you.
Senator, we have so much to get to.
Margaret,
Thank you,
I think it's
Nora.
important
We're
because
going to turn out of the
debate-
economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that
The
you guys
economy,
weren't going to
we're-
fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
What's that?